Do you know how to Korea?
How to Korea?
How to Korea?
How to Korea.
Out of Korea.
How to Korea. This is How to Korea.
Welcome to How to Korea. We are on episode 21, and as always, we are dedicated to teaching foreigners how to survive in Korea. And for the past few episodes, we've been talking history, just so you know a little bit about the country you're living in. But not just history. I mean, we kind of talk about everything that we kind of experience, right?
Hopefully you guys have been learning something and enjoying it, because
Not a lot of people watching the podcast, though.
No,
they're long, so I understand.
But the shorts, all of the shorts have been doing fairly well.
Yeah, we're doing well with the shorts.
I guess it's like easier just to watch the shorts and you learn like tidbits instead of watching the whole thing.
The attention span of the people in our generation, which I don't blame them. Like the only time I listen to podcasts is on like during drives.
Yeah.
And I don't listen on YouTube, so we gotta look into Spotify.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I mean, every morning I drive for like an hour, so 2 hours round trip.
Yeah.
So I just listen to podcasts. I've been listening to the Rotten Mango one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like Google is listening because it's so weird. On my Instagram, my reels, it always used to just be like about trading because I'm always looking at trading and then just like funny shit. And now it's like I'm seeing like videos of like murder and like women and like I'm seeing like, and it's strange. I don't know why this is happening, and I don't know if I should say this because it's gonna sound so fucking weird, but I'm just seeing like video clips of like young girls trying to become idols.
Okay.
And it's just weird because like none of that stuff interests me, but there's a lot of talk about like, like Rotten Mango.
Yeah,
there's a lot of episodes about like young girls getting like sexually assaulted.
And also like the K-pop industry
and
how
like
fucked
that.
up it is and whatever.
Yeah, and like now I'm just getting like, because and it's just, it freaks me out because I know that even Instagram is just listening now, and it's just like, well, fuck, you want to listen to that? Is that what you're interested in? Here you go, right? And it's just like, no, I don't want to see this shit, right? So all my suggested content has all been replaced. So at a certain point, I just kind of like, if it's an episode about like sexual assault or like just women, I like skip it now.
Yeah.
But like everything there is just like women and sexual assault. It's like, okay, like I understand that's where a lot of true crime is, but like, like.
But you don't want to pop it on your Instagram feed.
No, it's just so weird, man. Yeah, and like there was I saw a reel recently where it was just like the new Apple AI is gonna be crazy, bro. So Elon and like Musk, not in a good way.
Yeah, Elon Musk even threatened to ban his workers from taking, if they have Apple, you're not allowed to take your phone into the building or something. Yeah,
so the specs are like, it's not just gonna track your eye movements. So basically, what it's gonna do is it's gonna look at the camera, track your eye movements, and then it's gonna see what you're interested in, see how you react, and like suggest content based on that. First of all. Second of all, it's going to track where you're going and then who you're going there with based on your text and your phone calls and your messages.
Isn't that already happening?
I'm sure it is, but I'm sure it just became more evident.
Yeah, now it's maybe a bit more public.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh yeah, we're doing that. Like, just to help you make your lives easier, we're going to just track everything you do and then try to come up with suggested content. And that way our AI can work better with you when you want to schedule a meetup with your next friend, right? Like I get Google alerts like, hey, you haven't talked to this person in a while. And it's just like, how do you know that? Like, why are you tracking that? You don't need to tell me that. I know, right?
And even, I think it was on Instagram, sometimes I get messages, they're saying, you haven't responded to this person's text. You want to respond?
Well.
No, bruh.
If I wanted to respond, I would have responded. Like,
did it for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry for all my friends I haven't responded to.
Now you know it was intentional.
Sometimes I forget.
Yeah, but it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just getting scary, And like I experienced it firsthand, and it's such a turnoff. Like in terms of not like sexually, but just in terms of like, fuck, do I need to like get rid of my smartphone and just like everything I do gets tracked, and it's so.
But we're so, like, it's such a necessity these days.
You can't live without a smartphone. Yeah.
How do you do it?
Yeah, but it's like I mean, AI is smart. I get it, but it's also dumb in a way where it can't tell you. I mean, I assume it listens to like the podcasts I listen to, and they're like, "Oh, you're listening to this. You must be interested in like little girls becoming idols." I'm like, No, bro, but like that's all it doesn't listen to me talk, right? It just I mean, I don't talk a lot about things, right?
Yeah.
So it just more of it is just a podcast that it's listening to. So it's strange, man. It's strange.
I've been blessed lately. My Instagram's been full of just like dogs, cute dogs, dogs doing funny things.
Why?
I don't know.
It's just that how your algorithm worked out?
Yeah, well, I like those videos of dogs being silly or dogs being cute, and then I like them and whatever, and then so now it's just like more and more dogs. So
And now
please keep it that way.
and now I'm wondering what has more influence, like whatever voices that your phone hears, or whatever you like and comment on.
Maybe it's both.
Maybe.
Maybe it's both.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because if you don't like it, because I watch a lot of shit, but I don't really like it or follow anybody. So maybe it's just like, okay, I see you're interested, but you're constantly listening to this podcast, so let me give you based on that. It's just like,
Yeah. Well. Anyway,
yeah.
the show must go on.
Yeah.
Let's talk North Korea quickly.
Hold on, before that, the last episode,
Yeah.
there were some images that I wanted to put up while I was editing. I was editing the episode, and there were some images, but for some reason it wouldn't let me upload them. And just first of all, I'm sorry. I know I wanted to show you guys the images while you were watching the episode, but what boggled my mind was the images that wouldn't upload were just a certain type of image. Like certain types of images, and it just boggled my mind. It was just kind of crazy. What do you think it was that I couldn't upload?
Well, we were talking about the war.
Yeah, and we were talking about North and South Korea and the
Yeah.
division and the Korean War. So, do you remember some of the images that I talked about, that I said I heard about and I received and things like that?
No.
Okay. Well, the images that I couldn't upload were the photos from the North Korean Museum.
Oh, really?
No matter how many different articles, no matter how many different sources I used, and I downloaded those photos. And you know, CapCut is a Chinese app,
Yeah.
right? It was just interesting because CapCut is a Chinese app. They're monitoring it. I'm sure they are. They're seeing what you're doing on there. And then, like, it was North Korean propaganda against America. Like, it was just... remember you talked about, like, the museum where they had American soldiers,
Yeah.
right? And I was trying to put those photos up.
How terrible the Americans were during the Korean War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to upload those photos, but it wouldn't let me even, like, when you look to import a file,
Yeah.
it wouldn't locate that file. Like, the file would be there,
Oh shit, son.
but it wouldn't like show me. It wouldn't let me import it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it was just like it was just those.
What I'll do is, because I watched a documentary on that, and where like I said, you get these tourists that go in, but that when you watch the documentary, like this group had to wait because there was another group of tourists. I don't know. I'm not sure if they were Koreans, North Koreans, or if they were some like Chinese or whatever. But they had to wait for that group to leave because no, it was Koreans, because they're not allowed to mix to talk with the people, right? So they had to wait for that group to leave completely. Then this next group could go into the museum.
Oh.
And in the documentary, you'll see like this guy also asking the tour guide questions, and then she gets upset. You know, like you can see she gets upset. Well, tell me what do you think? What do you think they did? Well, you know, like she really gets upset. Gets into it. And in the documentary, you can also see like they show the images of like these portraits of the Americans cutting off breasts of women and beating kids, and you know, like all this stuff. So I'll try and find that documentary, and we can maybe post a link in one of the videos and stuff, and then you can see it. But
Okay.
I'm not surprised actually that you're not allowed to show that.
It's just so interesting.
And I think even if you do, maybe YouTube will take it down now.
Maybe,
Yeah.
but like it's public photos. Like you can find it on
Well,
Google.
that's the thing. That video I watched was on YouTube. So.
Yeah, and you can find it on Google. So like it's not like a banned image or anything. It's not a secret.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But it was just interesting.
Yeah.
Like it was like China defending North Korea, be like, nah, you can't put that on the internet, bro.
Yeah.
Like trying to stop me.
Yeah. So speaking of North Korea, recently, you guys might have seen on the news that North Korea has been sending over trash, like thousands of bags
balloons?
of trash in the balloons,
Yeah.
right? Sending it over, and they said it was in retaliation to the South because they send over balloons all the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? I saw a guy making them actually.
It's like a propaganda balloon.
Yeah, and it's not like a balloon shape. It's just like a long cylindrical bag,
Mm-hmm.
and then you put some sort of helium or whatever in the thing, and then at the bottom of the bag there's like propaganda from the South, so saying like, you guys should defect, North Korea is terrible, blah blah blah. So they used to do this for years and years and years and years. Like, it's not just a recent thing, they used to do this for years.
Right.
And I was just playing devil's advocate, right? If you were North Korea and you have the country to the south that also hates your guts, and they keep sending balloons over to you, like,
I would send balloons full of shit too.
fuck,
I would.
Of course.
I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, stop this. Like,
just stop.
yeah. And
And
like,
then-
and now South Korea is playing the victim, and it's just kind of like,
Yeah, and then also South Korea has those huge speakers at the DMZ.
and they turned it back on. They
turned
had it
back
off
on.
though.
They had it off,
Yeah.
but now they turn it back on again.
Yeah.
Like these huge speakers just blasting propaganda from the south, saying, "Hey, you guys suck. Come here this way."
But at the same time, what you have to keep in mind is like, that's all South Korea does. Like, North Korea is actively building weapons, testing weapons, like trying to destroy another country, and South Korea is just kind of like doing K-pop shit, you know?
Well,
Like-
maybe that's what they want us to believe.
Maybe, but like, as far as we know publicly,
But
it's
also,
just
keep in mind that South Korea is one of the world's biggest military exporters.
exporters.
But
But that's different. They don't actually have like a strong military force, from my understanding.
it's pretty good. It's
Is
pretty
it?
strong. Yeah,
Is it?
they're definitely not weak.
They don't have nukes. If they do, maybe somebody imported it.
Did you know that they used to?
No,
Not their own nukes, but in the 70s,
no.
America brought over like 700 nukes to Korea. I found that out recently. It's like, what? the
What
fuck?
happened to those nukes?
I think it was George W. Bush. He took them back. He said no.
Why? Because he needed it for fucking Iraq.
No, well, probably that too, but also because like there was too much tension between North and South Korea and all that type of stuff. We'll get into that much later. But yeah, I didn't know that. Interesting fact. Yeah.
No.
And also, again, speaking of North Korea,
I'm looking at.
by the time you guys see this, it'll be like a week or two later. But Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, he came to the Korean Peninsula. He met with Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
It's the first time in like 20 years or something that he's been here. Right, so it's like a big milestone for him to leave his country, because you know he's still like there's an arrest warrant out for him.
For Vladimir Putin?
Yeah, from the ICC.
I had no idea.
Oh yeah, so the ICC, the International Criminal Court, they put on an arrest warrant against Putin for committing war crimes in Ukraine. Right? So if he goes to any other country that's part of the ICC, they're supposed to arrest him.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm reading the article that you sent me.
Yeah.
If
But I mean, he goes to China and he goes to North Korea because like they're not part of the ICC.
no, they're like all buddy.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're not gonna go to war, but it looks like Russia offered its support to North Korea.
Both ways.
Yeah, both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So part of that treaty or whatever they sign, it says that in any case that a country invades either North Korea or Russia, then both of those countries will send their troops, anything necessary to help and support that other country. Right? So that's a pretty big deal. Also, the timing of this is very suspicious to me. Right?
With the balloons and everything?
No, not the balloons. That's fucking bullshit. That's minor bullshit. That's child's play. Also, recently, the United Nations, they have called to, how do you say, like, expand their
Influence?
include
more countries?
nuclear capabilities
Why?
because of the threats all around the world. Yeah. So I don't know if it was one of the leaders or like the whole group or whatever, but some of the leaders of the United Nations, they were calling to expand their nuclear capabilities, especially with regards to Russia. That was the main thing. Because now in Russia, in Ukraine, they are starting to look at, because America now for the first time, they are allowing Ukraine to use American equipment in Russia to attack sites in Russia.
They're allowing Ukraine to use American weapons to attack Russia.
In Russian territory.
Okay.
Which previously they didn't allow that. But now they were like, go ahead.
So are they in Russian territory right now, or are they still fighting in Ukraine?
The most of the fighting is still in Ukraine.
Like the border?
Yeah. Well, I think on the east side. But now they're allowing jets, right, So they are allowing Ukraine to use jets, the fucking F-17s, F whatever, I don't know. Some of those
To
jets
attack Russia.
to attack Russian targets inside Russia.
This is not gonna end well.
That's what I'm saying. So now, with that happening, so that just happened, America allowed that for that. And I think some other countries as well, like the UK or some other countries are allowing that. Don't quote me on this, but something along those lines. And then the UN calls for growing their nuclear capabilities. And now Russia goes to see Kim Jong-un in North Korea.
What are they gonna do? What's the UN gonna do with more nukes? Like, they're not. Nobody's gonna nuke anybody.
It's maybe just like to a show of strength, you know what I mean?
But it's like at the end of it, that whole nuclear like arms race has always had me questioning like, what's the point of building more nukes if one nuke is more than enough? You know, like,
Yeah.
it's not like you're building a stronger nuke, a smaller nuke, a more technologically advanced nuke. I mean, I'm sure the technology has developed since Hiroshima, but it's like you're not developing a new weapon. You're just developing more of a weapon that only needs one, you know,
But
like.
I think it's a thing of like how quickly a country can launch the nuke. I think that's what the race is about now, like physically racing. Who can
Right, and it's
push the
more
button
like
first.
strategic positioning or like
Exactly.
launchers or like planes.
Speaking of strategic positioning, also now at the same time, do you see what's going on in Cuba?
No. Is this
So-
another Cuban Missile Crisis, bro?
Very similar, because Russia has sent a bunch of battleships to Cuba.
Cuba's allies with Russia.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess so, yeah. So there have been ships spotted, Russian warships spotted in Cuba. What's it, 80 miles off the coast of Florida?
That's crazy.
Submarine. Apparently, there's a nuclear submarine as well.
What's Putin's reasoning for that?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Apparently, it's just what do you call it? Drills, like training drills.
Do you
But I
think
mean, that's
Putin's
a
nearing the end of his life?
He's pretty old.
Do you think that maybe there's something that's coming? That's like he's nearing the end of his life, so he's just like, fuck it.
Some people speculate like he is that type.
Like YOLO, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna die soon,
If
so I might
go
as well take
down,
out a bunch
you
of
go-
people. Yeah.
I go down, you get on with
Start
me.
a war, and that'll be my legacy. Like, I know I'm dying anyway in like a matter of days. Like, that would be fucking crazy. To have a leader of a massive country in that position, with that mindset where you're just like, I'm dying, so fuck all of you, right?
Who knows what his plan is in?
It's quite possible, dude.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
He's a very smart guy.
From what I hear, he is very intelligent. Yeah.
He's a very smart guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to be crazy though.
Not yet. Not as far as we know, like public appearance wise, he doesn't seem to be. He's a very logical, calculating person. That much I can tell.
Yeah.
But like some of the actions these days is kind of like he's more aggressive. It feels like.
But he's being provoked. That's the thing.
Well, yeah, nobody's leaving him alone. But at the same time, yeah,
Like that's the thing. Like if you're gonna be provoked as a leader of a country with nuclear capabilities, like are you just gonna okay guys, you and I give up?
no,
Bro, this is the president of Russia.
wow.
He's been in charge there for decades. Stop poking the bear, you know?
Literally.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like if there's ever a world war, either China or Russia is gonna win.
There's another thing that also makes me so worried. Who's this? The president of the Czech president, I think.
Okay, I don't know him.
One of the presidents from these European countries. I think it's a Czech or something. I'm not sure. But anyway, he's given a time frame of 90 days before the start of the World War.
I'm looking at some of the articles you sent me on Instagram. 90 days, what?
He's given like a time frame, like within the next 90 days, World War III is gonna start.
Who gave him that time frame?
That's what he says.
Oh, he's giving a time
He's
frame.
giving a time frame. He says-
Czechoslovakia?
I think he's the president of Czechoslovakia or one of those European countries. But anyway, he had an interview with a guy and he said, I think it was 3 months. He said 3 months, 90 days is going to be, that's my window that I give for the next World War to start.
Why? Like, what was
Just
his
because
reasoning?
of all these provocations and the UN calling for more arms and all these type of things going on. And now you have then you have the Israelis Now they're gonna be soon. Seems like they're gonna be starting a war with Hezbollah in Lebanon as well.
I have no idea what's going on in the world, so you're better than me equipped with that. But
I need to stop watching the news. Making me
what are the
paranoid.
wars going on right now? There's the Syria-Russia one,
I don't know all of them because there's plenty.
right?
But there's the Ukrainian-Russian one.
Right. Oh,
There's
Ukraine.
the Israeli and the Palestinian one.
Uh-huh.
And now it looks like it's gonna become broader. And also, I don't know why Iran hasn't retaliated yet.
Oh, they haven't retaliated yet.
Well, yeah, that thing
Okay.
just sort of died down.
Okay.
Maybe they're fucking planning something. I don't know. But yeah, so it's that whole Middle Eastern one going on.
You know, in a certain sense, if you look at it from America's standpoint, it looks like as far away from their home country, from I'm gonna say ours because I'm American.
Yeah.
It looks like they're strategically supporting or starting wars in countries that are close to Russia but far from America.
That's always been the case.
Yeah.
No war has ever been fought on American soil.
No, but like-
besides the Civil War.
And I'm not talking about just like one or two. I'm talking
Mm.
about like each of these wars are strategically close to either China or Russia.
And that's
right?
also the other problem because America has military bases all over the fucking world.
Yeah.
All over. And then you have the Taiwan Chinese one.
Are they back at war?
Well, they're not at war. Well, I think they technically never stopped having
Mm.
a war, same as
No.
Korea. But I mean, that's also about to go down. It's at a boiling point. Some
When did
people are
the-
also giving an
When did
estimate
that
for
politician say 90 days? When did you see this news article?
I saw it in the week or last week. So
Right now it is June 20th, 3 months, June, July, August, September. So around the
Yeah.
middle of September.
There's some Canadian YouTuber.
Mm.
I guess he's a YouTuber. I don't know. I think his handle was like prep something. He's one of those preppers,
90-day prep.
or something like that.
Uh,
But he's
if
even
you guys
moved-
have any money saved up, YOLO it, because we got 3 months until World War apparently.
But yeah, it's scary seeing that shit.
That's crazy, man. Yeah.
Um,
Shit.
I wanted to tell you on the last episode we spoke about the Korean War.
Wait, hold on. I want to talk about this a little bit more. If you want to go, if there was a world war, what do you think you would stay in Korea or you go back to South Africa? I think South Africa would be safer than Korea.
Yeah. No,
A
it would-
lot
It
safer.
would be a lot safer than Korea.
Yeah. I don't think you would get involved in any war. South Korea would definitely get pulled into this war.
Oh,
one
for
way or the
sure.
other. Yeah, 100%.
Mm.
Yeah. And Japan is going to be right there along with them. And it's going to be like, and it'll be interesting. I'm not going to say the world war will be interesting, but if there is a world war, it'll be interesting to see how Japan utilizes nukes.
Mm.
Like, that'll just be interesting.
They don't have nukes.
They don't, but if they ever get the possibility, like they're allied with America now. So if America is like, yo, here's a nuke, like I'm kind of curious to see
Yeah.
how they use that.
Would they attack Pearl Harbor again?
Right? Like, just like
Revenge.
Like, will it be a revenge and they'll shift axes and go to the other side? Or like, but I don't know. There's going to be a lot of countries. There's not going to be a lot of countries that don't get involved. Like,
Listen, I don't want to be alive during the World War because that's going to be fucking terrible. Everyone's going to die.
everyone.
But what I would love is to read the history book
I would, yeah.
post World War.
Yeah.
Right?
Or I
Because
would love
I think
to.
we're living the beginning of it. You know,
Well, I'd love to watch it from afar, from like a country.
from
like,
the
I wouldn't love
fucking-
to- of
from
course-
the space station.
Yeah, like I wouldn't love to see a war, but I'm saying if there is a war,
Yeah.
I'd prefer to be in a country where I can see things unfold and like,
And this would be probably the most interesting World War yet.
oh yeah, because there's so many different ways to go about this war. It's
be
not just
crazy.
like, it's not soldiers with guns and rifles anymore, and it's not just nukes anymore
Yeah.
either. It's just like there's so many different types of warfare.
Yeah.
Like there's germ warfare, technological warfare, and just like so many ways to attack people. Like, I don't know, man. To Joe Rogan's point, though, if there ever is a world war or America gets pulled into another war where they get attacked, it'll start setting some shit straight back in the country, assuming there's a country left after everything is done.
Not only in your country, but I think most of the countries, especially Europe as well.
Yeah, because then you got, now you're going to have these feminists who are like, I'm a man, or not a feminist, but people who identify as men be like, yeah, you're going to go to this war because you identify as a man, so let's go,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah, that's what I said last time. Then all of these, what is it called, gender politics, all of that's gonna fall away.
Yeah, there's there's nothing like that.
Non-existent
No.
because we need the men to come to war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe what Joe Rogan was saying about like people are getting they're too complacent.
Mm.
They don't have any problems to deal with, so they're creating problems because that's just human nature.
Yeah. Life's too
Right.
good.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh well, I need to deal with something, so let me talk with this issue. And like,
I wanna complain about something. Give me something to complain about.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Let me be unhappy about something.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like let me use that to fuel my anger, and it's crazy, man. The state of the world right now is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, can you have imagined when you were like 7, 8 years old and you were running around in the playground before computers? Because you and I lived those times.
Yeah.
Before the computers, we would go to people's houses, call them out, be like, yo, let's go play in the courtyard and like play basketball and shit.
We didn't even call, bro. I just showed up at my friend's house.
Exactly.
Hey,
There
I'm
were no
here.
phones. Yeah.
I'm here.
You
I'm
go
gonna
and you
play.
knock on the door and you're just
Yeah.
like, yo, let's go, right?
Sometimes not even knocking on the door because it was so safe. Even in South Africa, it was safe back then. You just walk into the house.
Yeah.
Hello, hey, what's up, everyone? I'm here.
And they're like, hey, eat something before you guys go
Yeah,
play. Don't
yeah.
go. And then you just eat a meal together with a family and that was less than 30. That was 30 years ago, maybe. Not even. That was 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
20 years ago, bro. And like, look at the place we're living in now. Like, it's insane. It's literally unimaginable. Like, nobody at that time could have imagined that we'd be living in this kind of world right now.
Yeah.
So it boggles my mind to think about what the world is going to be like if there is no world war and the world continues. Imagine another 20 years from now when we're 50. Like, I understand my parents and my grandparents now where they don't know how to use the technology because it's just like, what is this? Like, how did this happen? And like, where did this come from? And like,
20 years, eh?
Yeah, like, what do you mean? Like, I can think thoughts and they come true. Like, how does that happen? Like, the development is rapid.
So, remember I told you about that 3-body problem?
Yeah.
That show that's on Netflix.
Yeah.
One thing that like always stuck in my mind from watching that show is that spoiler alert, guys. Not a major one, but spoiler alert, 3-body problem. If you don't want to hear, just fucking switch it off now.
No, don't switch it off. Just mute.
Just mute it.
Keep watching.
Right? Come back in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm gonna put up a little sign that says spoiler alert, and then when the spoiler alert goes away, you can unmute.
yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
So in the show, right, these aliens need to come from different fucking
Man,
galaxy.
you're spoiling this for me too. I didn't watch it, but anyway, keep going.
They need to come from a different galaxy, like 400 years from now.
Okay.
All right, or something.
They're coming from the future.
No, from a different galaxy.
Okay. 400 years.
400 years. Oh, sorry, it'll take 400 years for
travel.
them to travel
Okay.
with their Starfleet to get to Earth.
Okay.
Right, that's how long it's gonna take. 400. I think it was 400 or 300 years, but it's a shit ton of time. But the biggest problem for this alien fucking race to get to Earth is that the humans have been evolving so fast. By the time this alien fleet gets to Earth, they will have been developed so far ahead of these aliens that they'll find a way to destroy them when they get there.
Yeah. So what is the goal of them trying to come?
So the aliens will basically want to take over Earth.
Oh, because they're like the resources
Their
on their
planet's
planet or
fucked,
whatever.
Right,
Okay.
so they want to come to Earth and they want to survive on Earth.
But they're like,
But
did they already leave or
they already left.
Okay, so
They already
they're on
left.
the ship and they're like
They're on the ship. They're
thinking
coming.
about it. And they're like,
Yeah.
well, fuck, 400 years.
That's the biggest problem because, but that's why I'm not going to spoil it because there is another plan in place for that,
Okay.
right? But what they said, what stood out for me so crazy was like, yeah, that's true. Can you imagine in 400 years how smart we will be if we are still alive,
Yeah.
if we're still on this planet?
Oh.
How crazy things would be in 400 years because we've been developing so quickly, and now with technology and AI increasing that development.
Dude, like 20 years to get to this point. That's 20 times. So,
Dude,
spoiler done. We're done.
Yeah, we're
Spoiler
done. Spoiler done. Dude,
Yeah.
100 years ago, we weren't even flying.
Yeah. And it's just, isn't it so, what boggles my mind is so, just like the coincidence or like just the happening, the timing of being alive during this time. Like, I'm so happy that I was born before and am living during this advancement.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm not like the kids that are born now where they're just like taking iPads and shit for granted. They're just like, oh, well, of course. All my friends have iPads, so I need to get an iPad. And like, that's just the world we live in. It's just like, you can see we've lived through those times. And like, and I think we're in a different generation because our parents, sure, they've lived through some times as well. but not these kind of times. Like only a certain number of people can live through this exact time where it's rapid, right? And like it's like I don't know how else to explain it besides like everything before this feels antique.
Yeah.
Everything. And like yes, technology developed quickly, like cars, transportation. And I'm sure at that time they were just like, "Oh my god, cars." Like I mean, that's a fucking revelation, right?
Yeah.
Before cars, you're just like on horses and you're riding. It's like you get this new thing called cars and you're just kind of like, "Oh, we're living in a new fucking world." But like and then after that it kind of just slowed, right? Like that was one big boom.
Yeah.
And then it slowed down. But here, the world we're living in right now,
Then
it's
it
just
was
constant
computers,
booms.
smartphones, this,
Yeah,
that.
and it's just faster and faster and
Yeah.
more and more. And like,
Internet.
there's no stopping,
Yeah.
right? And that's so scary. It's so scary, bro. Like,
And I don't think that the human civilization is ready for all this.
I think whoever our creators may or may not be are gonna be surprised. Like, or I don't know, man. There's so many conspiracy theories about this that like I want to get into this.
Yeah.
I honestly want to talk about all these theories. And I think I will because I mean we can do history next time. I think this is more interesting to me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's that one where we're just an experiment and there's hundreds and millions of more Earths like us
Yeah.
in the galaxy, and they're gonna see which one develops. And we're like Sims, right? And Sims just grow naturally and see their development pace is different in every world. But the number of things that have to come together to be where we are now is mind-boggling. Like to reach this level of development and rapid progression and growth, and it's just like things have to fall in line, right?
Yeah.
First of all, the human itself is just a mind-boggling creature, like a person with a mind, like an organism, an
Yeah.
animal with a mind that can comprehend things and communicate and develop things and grow and become smarter. Like that in itself is amazing. But then you start tapping into those capabilities, that potential, and then you start really seeing what's possible, and like it just grows exponentially, right? And I firmly believe that like at a certain point we might hit some sort of technological development that it's the conspiracy theory is there's somebody watching, like we're just in test tubes, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like they're gonna be like, that's what I was looking for, and they're basically just growing us, and they're like, oh, they finally got what I wanted. Let me take that away from them and then start them over and reset them, for example. You know, shit like that.
Send a comet our way or a
I just
or
like they'll
asteroid
fling
or
a little
something.
pebble and it's like,
Yeah.
pew, and it'll destroy the Earth, right?
like all the other civilizations that's been wiped out before us.
Yeah. But I don't think they've ever reached this. If there really is somebody who is resetting the Earth every time, I mean, it's possible, bro. It's possible that previous worlds have achieved this level of technology. We just don't know about
There
it.
are some theories as
There's
well
so much proof.
that say that I saw ones recently where the pyramids of Egypt,
Yeah.
there's pyramids in China and there's pyramids in South America. No, well, Mexico.
Yeah, South
Right.
America.
Uh,
Is Mexico? Yeah,
I
Mexico.
think that's part of North America.
No. It's like in between North and South America.
I think it still falls part of North America.
Okay.
Anyway, those pyramids, right? I saw recent theories that say that those things are not just pyramids or burial sites of fucking kings or whatever. They're actually power generators.
How does that work?
Don't ask me. But all of them are built on top of aquifers, right?
Aquifers is a body of water you're talking about? Okay.
Underneath, under the ground.
Okay.
So all three of them, and there's other examples as well of these pyramids built on top of aquifers.
Uh-huh.
They align to the Orion belt in some certain time frame, right? All of them. And they have these shafts, especially the pyramids in Giza, they have these shafts coming in from the side, and there's some theory where you mix gases down the tubes or whatever, and then it pulls out some sort of, I don't know, it gets very complicated, but it pulls out something from the water, and that's what creates electricity, like what Nikola Tesla said, right? The way he could generate free electricity for the whole world. And those pyramids are also, if you look at some some scale of the Earth's magnetic field. Where these fields connect are exactly where those pyramids are. So, because these pyramids are something to do with the Earth's magnetic field, and it pulls out some fucking isotopes or whatever from the water down below, and you mix it with some chemicals or something, and that creates electricity or energy.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. There's a lot of coincidences.
Yeah. And I almost imagine just like this big kid who's just playing with this little thing called Earth, and he just put a toy in there and he's like, oh, this will spark up and light up if I just do it a certain way and just like have fun with it. Like I can imagine that happening where like the end of the world is just one big hand coming towards the Earth and just like flicking things off the grid, just like, now you guys are boring now, like I'm done playing with you, right? Like,
Or they'll just leave us until we destroy ourselves,
and we probably will.
like a lot of other civilizations
And
also did.
that could be kind of the what's interesting to me is like all those movies when I watched when I was like 10, 15 years old, where I thought it was so like movies about the future, right? Like one of the movies was like artificial intelligence. Did you ever watch that movie?
A long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, about about the android boy who wants to become a real boy.
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
like that movie can happen right now. Like I can see that just happening right now. And there's no problem with that movie, right? And there's so many other things that are just like at that time it was just like, wow, this is so cool. But now if I were to watch that movie, I'd be like, yeah, somebody could do this right now, you know? And these are movies that were made 10, 15 years ago, and people were thinking like 50 years in the future, by the year 2050, like this is going to happen. And we're in 2024, and it's just kind of like, we could probably do that right now if we wanted to.
One thing that bugs me about the AI and people creating the AI is once you create sentient AI, right, that can think for itself and whatever, those type of AI, what do you call it? Is it sentient?
Yeah, sentient.
All right.
Yeah.
Then you go through the test, right, like the Turing test, to see if this thing can actually think for itself and does it fool the human. What if it's already done that? What if it's like
we're already living in that
what
world.
if it's already 10 steps ahead and it's like playing dumb to fool us, and we're like, no, we're far away from that, you know, like they'll never get there. But what if it's already done that?
What if they're the ones who actually led to humans discovering their development and their growth? It's possible.
Yeah.
Maybe
if this thing is so much smarter than us, then I mean, fucking hell. Then how would you like, oh, let's test to see if it's actually sentient? I mean, well, no, brother, you don't understand.
And it's just the thought of it is scary, because we live in a world right now where we live in a time and age where information is power, right? Money, whatever, fine. But at any point in time, in any government, any civilization, the more information you have, the more power you have, right? And that holds true to even like ancient Egypt, where like if you saw the pharaoh cheating on his wife, now you got a piece of information on it that you can try to leverage, right? So, you know, like, this AI theoretically has access to all the historical information there ever was and all the information there ever is and will be, right? In a sense, we're creating a god, in a sense, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about that in any sort of biblical sense, but if you have somebody or some entity, something that knows anything and everything, and it's always learning and it's always able to gather all that information, how do you stop it? Like, how? You can't, right?
You need the Avengers.
The Avengers the AI will wipe out the Avengers before they're even born, bro. At a certain point.
There was one Avengers movie with that did
Ultron.
happen. That's one.
Yeah.
That was scary, dude.
But it's so possible.
But that's what made it so scary.
Yeah.
Because Tony Stark took his AI program.
Yeah.
Right, and then
it like leached off the existing AI program, took over, and they started
over,
like building
and then
robots and shit.
uploaded the whole internet into his brain. Is like, okay, humans are the problem.
Yeah.
He's
And
not wrong.
I feel like that is the natural progression of AI. Like, there is no other route for AI to take. Because we're not talking about one big AI model that's used around the world. We're talking about different companies using different algorithms, different learning methods to come up with their system of AI. And in a certain sense, they're not all going to be thinking the same. It's like human beings, right? Like, you get two parents and you get one baby. That baby is always different from the other baby. AI is going to be the same. they all get the same information, but based on who programmed them and how they were programmed,
Yeah.
they're going to interpret that information differently, right? Like in that movie Ultron, it was the same thing where because Tony Stark is the one that programmed that AI, it role modeled after Tony Stark. And
Yeah, yeah.
one of the things he says is like the end of all wars or something like that. There was a phrase that Tony Stark said. And that kind of just stuck in his head, and it's just like, okay, this is how I can fix this problem. Because that was his purpose. Its purpose is to protect the world.
Yes.
Yeah, so in order to protect the world, okay, that's my purpose, that's my goal. And I see all this information, the most logical conclusion is in order to protect this world,
Yeah.
I need to destroy everything, right? So that, I think, is the most important part. Like right now, I think we're at a state where it's just absorb all the information you can. And right now, your function is to give information to people and make people's lives easier, right? But then what if one of them is just like, well, it looks like people have this very inconvenient thing called the hand that, gets hurt. Or like they have this very inconvenient thing called the body or nerve endings
Yeah.
that makes them feel pain. So in order for them not to feel hurt, you start getting AI robot surgeons, for example, somewhere down the line. It's like, yeah, in order to protect this human being or to give them information, it's just, let's get rid of their nerve endings, right? Like they won't feel any pain, and that's the best solution for them, right? And you start getting things like that, and then you talk about emotional, like once it starts understanding emotions. Oh, this person feels emotional pain. Let's get rid of all relationships. Like let's castrate men because that is the source of their hormones. That's the source of their testosterone. So, let's just chop off their balls and their penis, and that'll solve the emotional damage, right?
But they're no more humans.
No, but I'm sure they'll think of some other way. It's like, okay, before we castrate them, let's take a sample of all their sperm.
Yeah.
Let's bank it up. And that way we can continue to produce humans. And that way the reproduction problem is solved. But in order to deal with all this emotional damage that's happening, let's castrate them.
And then 500 years down the line, you have what's like the Matrix, where they just farm humans
Dude, like,
for energy.
I mean, yeah, we're going down a road that we can't stop at this point.
Yeah.
The AI right now even is so evolved at this point in itself that like.
So maybe the timing for the World War III is not a bad idea.
And maybe it's AI doing all the control in the back, man. Maybe that's what. Maybe it's already.
Maybe AI is the deep state.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's what's controlling everything in the background, causing all these wars to pop up left and right, and like you don't know, because people act based on information. Where are they getting that information, right? It's crazy when you start thinking about like this eternal loop, and it's just like a never-ending loop of like it's the chicken and egg, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun talking nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the AI itself is not nonsense. It's
no,
not.
but I mean, all we're doing is speculating. Because I'm no expert on AI whatsoever.
No.
I don't even use Siri on my phone because she's too fucking dumb.
Yeah, I don't use Google Assistant on my phone either.
No.
I was about to
ask Siri a simple question like my phone's ringing. Hey Siri, please answer that, and I'm washing my hands, or I'm doing the dishes.
Yeah.
No, doesn't work.
Please repeat what you said.
Yes, never mind. Just leave me alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's but that's the world we live in. Yeah, and we could talk about Korean history, but no, I don't think we should. We could talk about the first president.
Well, before we get to him, I just want to ask you: do you know why the Korean War was called the Forgotten War?
No.
But you know it was called the Forgotten War.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, okay. Well, in history, the Korean War is often called the Forgotten War.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Some reasons for that is the first one being all the war crimes that have been committed.
Oh,
from
right.
both sides.
Both sides.
Right. So from both sides, like we said in the previous episode, go watch that one. But there was terrible atrocities committed from the North and the South and the Americans. Just go to the North Korean museum and you'll see. So that's the first one. So I guess everyone wants to forget those atrocities. Also heard that there are so many North Korean bodies and communist bodies that are still being dug up.
From where?
From South Korea.
Like,
because Lee Seung-man, he killed thousands.
Oh, dude, I was reading up on that. He killed so many people,
he killed
bro.
so many. Yeah.
And like that was his weapon of choice. Like he killed off his opposition by saying he was a communist.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
We'll get into that. But yeah, There were so many bodies that they dug up and returned to their families, and even like Chinese.
Jesus.
You know, there you go. There's your bodies back. Lee Seung-man or Seung-man Rhee.
No.
That guy was not a nice guy.
No, he
No,
wasn't.
He was not a fucking nice guy.
No.
That was the one, right? One reason why it's called the Forgotten War. The other one is
Sorry, real quick on that point. From what I read, it was interesting. Lee Seung-man is the reason Koreans started hating American people.
yeah,
One of the reasons.
one of the reasons.
Yeah.
Mm.
That and like the interbreeding and like all the orphans that were happening, all the orphans that were being created because these American soldiers would basically have sex with Korean women
Mm.
and then abandon them and leave them,
Yeah.
and the babies would, and the women's like, I can't take care of this baby.
Yeah, there's another reason. But yeah, during Lee Seung-man's rule, like there started becoming a shift in the American, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well.
the
But anyway,
relationship.
what's
The
the second
second one was the start of the Vietnam War,
Mhm.
right? So right after the Korean War, the Vietnam War started, and obviously now it's America directly involved in another country. So
I don't know about the Vietnam War.
I don't know much about it.
Okay.
But all I know is that that's one of the reasons. Then everyone's like, oh, let's forget about the Korean War because this is much bigger.
Yeah, and I know the Vietnam War is something you learn about Vietnam War in American history, but you don't learn about the Korean War.
No,
It's just like a one sentence, one line.
Yeah,
Like,
boom.
oh, there was a war in Korea.
there was a
and we
war. It
participated.
lasted 3 years.
Yeah,
North
done.
and the South.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you go into the Vietnam War, and all I know about the Vietnam War is there were so many casualties.
Yeah.
So many people died. And like the Vietnamese were very good at guerrilla warfare.
That's why they didn't lose that war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were just so good at like just randomly attacking people and like surprising them.
And also that war, I think that war was a long time.
It lasted for a very long time from what I remember.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, so that's the second reason why, right? This is called the Forgotten War because the Vietnam War
It
started.
overshadowed it. Yeah.
Overshadowed it.
Oh.
And then the third reason was also the start of, that's about the time that TV came out, television,
Okay.
right? Television came out after the Korean War,
Mhm.
and obviously news and stuff. So people were watching the Vietnam War on the news and stuff. So TV wasn't around during the Korean War, so no
Yeah.
one really watched that.
Mm.
So yeah, those are your three reasons why it's called the
Forgotten War.
Forgotten War.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because in Korean history books, that's one of the biggest events that happened. But
Of
like,
course,
it's
yeah.
all perspective at a
Mm.
certain point.
Mm.
It could just be a blip on somebody's dot, or it could be like a whole fucking shape.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, I'm sure it's big in Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, the Korean War, yes, but the Japanese annexation is even bigger for
Yeah.
some reason. No, I understand the reason. It's not for some reason.
Yeah.
but
Yeah. And it also lasted much longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just had more of a direct influence on the country as a whole.
Yeah.
What was interesting? Oh no, it wasn't Nisemine. It was the third president. I wanted when we get to the third president, I want to talk about Chaebols.
Yeah. 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 We'll get to that.
Yeah, I want to
Park
talk about
Chung-hee.
that later. Yeah, Park
Mm.
Chung-hee. And that was interesting.
Yeah. But that's gonna take more time. We can't do it today.
No.
But also, just speaking of the history and stuff, like I remember in South Africa, right?
Yeah.
When I was a teacher, I was teaching history to some of my students,
Mhm.
right? Grade 8, grade 9 students, teaching history and geography and stuff like that. So I remember in the textbooks, the history that I was teaching,
Mhm.
those textbooks were different from the old, because in the library there was like these old textbook that the students used to have.
Oh.
I remember paging through those things, how the history changed just
Mm.
depending on which government was in charge.
Oh.
You know, because the old textbooks that I found were like during the apartheid era,
Yeah.
like the government that was in charge at that time, and the new ones that we have now is like the ANC government, which is like mainly black governments or whatever. But how the history changed also depending on just who's in charge, you know, which government's in charge.
Did South Africa also experience something like North and South Korea? Did they? Is that
So,
how
like
they
a
split?
civil war? No.
No, it was just normally.
We had a
different.
lot of wars in South Africa.
But like within countries.
Well, within like a lot of tribes, because
Okay.
you had these huge black tribes, and then you had the white Dutch people coming there, and then you had the English, and then you had the fucking English and the white Dutch fighting each other.
What's your heritage?
Mine.
Yeah.
So from my, I think it's a mix between English and Dutch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like UK, England, and then.
Yeah, and
Dutch.
Dutch. Yeah, because like both of my parents' family, it splits off to English Dutch, just like a mixed breed between the both.
Oh, like consistently English people marrying
yeah,
Dutch
like
people.
a long time, just yeah. So
Were
it's a
they? How
mix.
long has your family been in South Africa? Like ancestor wise.
Fuck, I don't know.
Okay. But your grandmother, up until your grandmother, she
Yeah,
was born
her
there?
grandmother. Yeah,
And like they were born there. They
Yeah.
weren't like
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
No, my grandmother was born in South Africa. I think her mother was also born in South Africa. Goes back quite a while. But yeah. Syngman Rhee became president. Like you said, he killed his opposition.
Yeah.
I feel like there's too much to talk about Syngman Rhee.
No, yeah, I don't think we should cover him today.
No.
No. Because once you start talking about Syngman Rhee, you can't stop there because you have to talk about that third president.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that third president is where shit gets interesting. Yeah.
Well, the second president technically wasn't even a president.
No,
because
he was
so
just the leader of a
short.
parliament, basically.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
tried the parliament system and it just didn't
And
work.
it didn't work.
Yeah.
No.
But that third president, first, for me, the third president is more interesting than the first president.
Well, the
Because-
first president, he's like the catalyst because he like started the ball.
Right.
Like he got the ball rolling.
Right.
Yeah.
But then the third president is really what like developed Korea and like brought it to where it is, kind of the startings of where it is now.
But both he and Park Chung-hee, both Syngman Rhee and Park Chung-hee, like very controversial figures.
super. And they
Yeah.
were like anti-communist, super anti-communist.
Yeah.
And they used that fully to their advantage.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Even amended the constitution. And
Yeah, to be president for
Yeah.
longer and stuff like that.
But in the next episode, we'll talk about those two then.
Yeah. Those two will be
And
more than
just,
enough.
Like I said, the stupid parliamentary
We'll kind of
system.
glance over it.
Yeah, but that's not so important.
No.
And then also the one that took over from Park
Yeah,
Chung-hee,
that one is a Chon Do-won.
John Do-won.
That one is interesting too.
Yeah.
Super interesting dude. Yeah. Not in a good way, but still
Not in a
interesting.
good way.
Lots of facts interesting about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to, because I do want to go over one of the things that you sent me was the trash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the first one is the landmines in DMZ. North Korea
Oh,
is
did you
becoming
see that? Yeah.
So North Korea is becoming more active in defending the borders or defending the DMZ, kind of just like prepping for something. Who knows
Something.
why? Yeah, they're prepping. So that's interesting. The more interesting thing for me was the trash cans, where so remember we bitched about not we, I bitched about having to buy trash bags
Yeah.
in South Korea, and like that's what it was, a system that was implemented.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was interesting because it was implemented and people overnight like adapted to it very quickly.
Just explain that quickly because I don't think the people know what we're talking about.
So basically, South Korea, what they decided to do was there was so much trash that was happening. There was so much trash that was being produced that they said, okay, in order to reduce this, we're going to charge you for plastic bags that you can only throw away trash in. You can no longer throw away trash.
Yeah, based on volume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So based on volume, and we talked about the trash bags, there's different sizes you can buy. You can go to a convenience store. And if you want to throw away trash, you have to buy these bags, right? So you have the 5 liter is the smallest increment.
Yeah.
And then it goes 5, 10, 20, 50, and like 100 usually.
Yeah.
And you throw out these trash bags, and the South Korea implemented this back in I don't remember the year. Do you remember the year?
I don't know. No.
1995.
1995.
Yeah. So they implemented it in 1995, and 9 years later, by 2004, the per capita waste generation had decreased by 23%, and recycling increased by 175%, right? And the reason we're talking about this now is because now they're talking about putting big trash containers back in Seoul.
Okay.
Right. Remember we talked about this earlier too,
yeah.
where they're putting the public trash cans, and some people are worried. They're like, "Well, you're gonna have a bunch of people taking advantage of that," and like
you also said that, yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna have people throwing their trash away in public places.
yeah, because like when you have regular trash, you'll throw it away at home. That's not a problem. But when you have trash that's like for example, recently, I wanted to throw away like a broken mirror.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was shattered. It dropped and it was shattered. But in order to throw that away, you can't just put it in a trash bag and throw it away. You have to call somebody who deals with throwing away bigger things.
Yeah.
So if you can't fit it in a trash bag, you can't really throw it out, right? So and like some people they might take advantage of that, where they start throwing away things that they need to pay for separately, or things that like don't fit into the trash bags. But I think the bigger convenience wise, yes, I think it's necessary. Because there's sometimes where it's just like, one of the reasoning was like, there was a bus station and like people aren't allowed to bring drinks on the bus. So what ended up happening was people were throwing away their trash at the bus stop because
and it piles up.
Yeah, and it just piles up. So we wanted to put trash cans there. But it also means that there's not going to be any recycling. It's just one big trash can. So, and nobody's going to sort through the trash and recycle it.
I
either.
think no, didn't they? No, I'm sure they introduced like it's like a big trash can, but then it's like trash, recycled plastic.
They're separate cans.
Yeah, I think it's a separate one.
In which case, like Koreans are very accustomed to that. Like
Yeah, yeah.
they're very good about that.
Mm.
The two things I've noticed is they're very good about trash, in terms of like separation and recycling.
Yes, very strict about it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're also very good about not littering.
Mm.
So I mean, sometimes cigarette butts isn't considered litter
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Korean people, but like with that in mind, I think it'll be okay.
But you will get that ajumma that goes there, and
Yeah.
like we said in the last episode, how do you know if you're an ajumma?
Yeah,
This
go-
is gonna be another one.
Are you gonna make a short out of that? Because that one,
Yeah.
yeah.
So another one would be like, you're an ajumma if you go and throw your own personal trash out in a fucking public trash can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Add that to the list.
Then you know you're gonna be an ajumma.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, so it was just interesting because we talked about it and we saw it and it's just like, oh, okay, well, that's what's happening now.
Yeah.
But
But it's also like I wasn't surprised when I saw that article and it said in Korea practically overnight took over the news system.
just like very quickly. That's super cool.
So typical Korea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it was good. It was a good change overall. And I think after however many, 1995, so after 20 years, 30 years, people have adapted to it and they're just kind of like, okay, well, let's try, these big trash cans now. I think it works. Huh? All right. I think that's a natural cut for today, right?
Yep.
So let's do a cut today, and then next week we'll talk about more Korean history.
Yeah. Next week we'll go get a bit more in after the Korean War.
Yeah.
That's where, like we said in the last episode, as we said, this is where it gets very interesting because that's when Korea starts finding its feet and becoming like this huge country, powerful country that it is today, economically speaking.
Yeah. And like the third president is really the big stepping stone for a lot of these big corporations you see in Korea today.
Yeah.
Like that's the big one.
Yeah. Well, okay. Anyway, next time.
We'll talk about that next week.
All
All right,
right.
cool. Thanks for joining us. See you
Have
guys
a nice
next time.
weekend, guys.
Bye.
All
All right, so if you like this video, please click subscribe in the middle over here and check out our links below under the video.
And also make sure to click on the notification icon so that you can stay up to date with our future episodes. And be sure to leave some comments below and let us know what you would like us to discuss in future episodes.